Hi, creative friends. This is Soraya, and thank you so much for being here. So today I'm going to be working in this children's cardboard book, and I haven't worked in it for quite some time. And this is the way I generally tend to work. I go from one project to another project, and there are lots of actually great reasons that I work in this way. But first, I just want to do a flip through. Now, this is not done, and it's just, as you can see, in various stages of completion. But this is like very experimental, and as you can see, like it has a very different vibe than my other journals that I'm working in. So say my the journal where I'm healing ancestral trauma, or my 100-day project, or Connie Solera's book. Like, this is very different. Now, I really, really love this spread. And it's one of the few spreads where I managed to kind of sort of have a busy background with a busy foreground, because I just cannot do that, which is a great segue into explaining why it's such a great way to work in different modalities, because everything helps everything else. And a lot of times, what will happen is, so I'm just going to use this book over here. So Connie Solera's gorgeous, delicious book. So I have been struggling and struggling and struggling, and I've talked about this so many times, but just say that, okay, so this is Connie's spread. I have not done anything on it. So just say that, I open up this spread. Well, I am immediately going to look at these figures. Like, I'm not, I guess I could go to this. This is pretty stark in this layout here, just because it's graphic, it's black and white, the stripes, etc. But I am drawn to the figures. Like, I'm gonna notice the figures, but I don't know how she balances the busy backgrounds with the busy foregrounds. And I've tried doing it in this book, and it, for some reason, it just never kind of works out. But because I go back and forth, for some reason, I'm able to do it in this book to a smaller degree, which is a win for me. Like, I have not been able to replicate the busy background with busy foregrounds. But in this book, for some strange reason, it just kind of happened, and I'm really, really loving it, because this looks like me. Like, it doesn't look like Connie's work, because it's not Connie's work. But I am able to balance a busier background with a busy foreground. So, anyways, I think I made a video series on this particular spread, and so I'm going to be working on this spread. But before I move on, I just wanted to say that I actually spilled my calligraphy ink this morning. As you can see, there's this big spot here. So what I did is I mopped it up with a paper towel, and I'm gonna let it dry. And look at that. Is that not just gorgeous? Like, look at this. It actually looks like fabric. So I mopped up all of the ink. I spilled, like, I don't know, a fourth of the bottle, I think. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn this into collage. Like, I'm gonna wait for it to completely dry, and I think I'm gonna add like little patterns on there, and maybe some gold, just, I don't know. I'm just going to experiment with it, but I'm going to turn it into collage. And, like, look at that. Isn't that just so beautiful? And parts of it look like tie-dye. So that was like a really, a very fortunate kind of an accident. So anyways, I am going to work on this spread. And while I work, I'm going to be talking about some of the reasons why it is really good to go from project to project. Now, it's not for everybody, and my adage is that if something feels overwhelming to you, then that's probably not a good path to go down. And that could be anything. That's just kind of what I do. Like, if something just feels like, oh my God, like I can't do it, and oh, blah, blah, blah. That's, probably a sign that it's not meant for me. And on the other hand, if something feels like, oh, like I'm curious about it, I have a sense of playfulness, or just kind of like an ease and a flow, then I go, oh, then I take that as a sign that I should be, that's a good thing for me. So a lot of times I like working in different journals, and not just journals, but just different projects, I guess you could say. So I'm going to give you some of the great reasons why this is beneficial, that I have found over the years. So actually, I first started working in this way um, because I wanted to air dry my pages. I didn't want to use a heating tool. And what I found is that I would get really, really impatient, and then I would end up using the heating tool. And there's nothing wrong with heating tools. I do use them. But sometimes, a lot of times, I just want a natural, like I want it to dry naturally for so many different reasons. Um, so I found that when I worked in like 3 or 4 journals at one time, then it really, it just, I wasn't impatient anymore, because I was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to work on this. And then I just put it aside and I just go work on something else. And I completely, completely forget about this journal over here. And then everything just dries. Another reason is like when I first started using children's cardboard books, and I was building up the pages with my collage and my Mod Podge, etc., you can only work on one spread at a time. Well, at least that's what I do, because I don't want my pages to stick. So what I mean is, like, I'll put on my collage here with my Mod Podge, and then it has to completely 100% dry before I turn the page like so, and then build up this page, because it is going to stick if it's wet. And even if I put like clothespins or something to separate the pages, the middle part is going to stick. So what I ended up doing is I would just work on like 4 or 5 or 6 children's cardboard books at one time, and it's tedious in the beginning, but then it really pays off at the end, because like I can just work on 5 different books and then leave it overnight, and then just turn the page and then work, and so on and so forth. So that's another reason. But for creative reasons, there are so many good reasons to work in this way. So one of the main reasons is that, like, just say I'm working on something and I get stuck. And anytime I get stuck, like, I have a feeling of constriction and frustration, and then it's like I'm fighting with the page, which is never a good place to be creatively. So what I find is that if I just leave it alone and not be like super impatient, but if I just like leave it alone and um work on something else, generally I'll come back to it and I won't have that feeling of frustration. The problems that I was dealing with may still be there. I mean, they're going to be there, but my mindset has shifted. My frequency has shifted, because now I'm like, oh, okay, I can resolve it. And then generally I'll figure out what to do. It's just a matter of getting out of that, oh, I'm fighting with the page and I don't know what to do and I'm so frustrated. So that's one super, super great reason to work on multiple, like just go from here to here to here. Another reason to work this way is that you have a cross pollination of ideas, which is what I was talking about when I first started this video about Connie's, when I was working in Connie Solera's journal, how I couldn't manage to balance a busy background with a busy foreground. But in this journal, I managed to do it. So what happens, and this has happened to me countless times, like too many for me to even go into. But generally, what happens is I'll do something like in my color journal. I made a journal called Color Journal, and I made a whole series on it. And what I did is I did a particular thing where I had like blue hair, a dark blue hair, and then I used like light blue, like dots, and I really just loved it. And that's not the intention I set out with when I was, when I started doing the whole journal, or sorry, the whole spread, but that's the way it kind of ended up being. And I've used that in so many other ways. Like I use that in my 100-day project. I just used it in a different way. So what happens when you work on different projects is you're going to find that there's going to be a cross pollination of ideas that happens in very unexpected ways. And that's just part of um, like it's like your creativity, it's like the seeds are there, and then now they're going to be blooming in different ways depending on, oh, are you working in pen and ink, are you working in watercolor, are you working on your 100-day project, blah blah blah. So that's like one of the really fun um, byproducts of working in this way. So another great reason to that I go from um, from journal to journal or project to project is that I firmly believe that every single thing that I do is going to strengthen every other thing. So just say I work on my 100-day project sequentially. So I work on it every single day. I don't miss one day, and I just go from, one, day two, so on and so forth. Well, I'm going to have a totally different body of work. And in my opinion, my body of work is not going to be as rich. It's going to be much like each one is going to be very similar to the next. Whereas if I go, oh, I'm working on my 100-day project, and then, for 2 days I work on something else and blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to take those ideas that I learned in whatever I was doing in those 2 days. So say maybe I'm working on my mini collages or Connie Solera's book. Well, I am going to go back to my 100-day project, and I'm going to have very different ideas. And that's like a really beautiful way that we can use what we're learning in other ways, and it gets kind of distilled into your own visual language, and it comes out in very unexpected ways. So I hope I'm making sense and explaining this correctly, but everything that I do is going to strengthen my visual language because I'm learning about myself. I'm like, hey, do I like this? Do I not like this? It's strengthening. Maybe I set the parameters for, I'm going to use very neutral colors. I want to strengthen my values. Well, you know, um, I might go back to Connie Solera's Painting the Feminine, and all of those lessons are going to come out, but they're going to come out in a different way um, than if I was going to be doing my 100-day project. Because the stuff that's I'm working with on Connie Solera's book is going to be different than my 100-day project. So obviously that's going to influence it. So basically the way I look at it is like, just say you have, um, let me see what a good analogy would be. I have to think on my feet here. What I'm trying to say is like, just say you have pieces of, oh, okay, I'm going to show you this actually. This would be good. My mini collages here. Okay, so what I mean is, okay, just say I have these 3 mini collage pieces here, right? And so I have these 3 pieces here, but just say that I now cut the top part of this and I start moving it around. Well, depending on what I'm going to put this, I rip this off and I put it on this piece. Well, if I rip this off and put it on this piece, it's going to be different than if I put it on this piece. It's the same thing when I work from journal to journal. What I'm working on is going to affect what I've learned from the previous, whatever I was working on. So everything affects everything else. And that's a great thing about creativity and about, art and just, especially mixed media. It's like there's an infinite number of ways that things can transpire. And I love working from, project to project to project. And to me, it doesn't feel overwhelming. It actually like gives me a bit of distance and a break. Because sometimes I can get like really, I'm just like, I'm frustrated, or I don't know how to resolve this problem type of thing. So anyways, you guys, I hope I've made sense with what I'm saying. And I think what I want to do is I want to flatten out the background here, because this is kind of like, it does scramble up my brain, you guys, honestly. And there's a lot of this that I actually want to keep because I'm really loving the patterns here, and I don't know how I'm going to keep it, but I'm going to try anyways. And I think immediately what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of block in the background here. And you guys, children's cardboard books, I've said this before, but they are so amazing for mixed media especially. But, you know, I mean, the sky's the limit really in how you can use it. I guess you can use it so many different ways, but they are so well made because they're made for children. And so they're made to handle like spills and, you know, food and all sorts of things that like children, toddlers, babies would do. And plus, they come in all different shapes and sizes. And you can go to the thrift store and you can just get them for a steal. Like, I've bought ones for $1, and you know, they're just so well made. They can take so many different, like, they can just take an infinite amount of layers. Now, I really love the juiciness of this here. This blue, the background. Okay, you guys, I am going to let this completely dry. And this is the end of part 1. And if you've watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.